Alright, this is how to do an oil cooler on a 7.3 Powerstroke. This will work for 94 to 03. First thing you want to do is take out the splash liner in here. There's 5.5 millimeter. There, and there. There's a couple plastic clips down there. There's one right there, that's an 8. There's another one up there, that's going to be an 8. And then up front there as well, there's going to be another 8 on your splash liner. So take all those out, get that out of there. You're going to have to undo these wires here off of those clips to allow that to fall down. That's going to be your easiest way to get in here to get everything. And then you're going to want to undo your steering shaft there. There's this plastic collar on that. You can see that it just slides off of there. And then there's a 13 millimeter head on that. And then you just slide that back. There's going to be 2 10s on the front half here. I'll show you. I already got this oil cooler off. And then there's going to be, on the back side, there's going to be 3 10 millimeters. So you're going to need some various extensions, swivel extensions like this. Are going to be your friend there. So you're going to want to drain all your coolant out, and then drain the oil out of your oil filter and take your oil filter off. This would be obviously a good time to change your oil as well. And then over here on the oil cooler, so up front here is where the 2 10s are at, and then back here are the other 3 10s. Now that I could not get this out, this is where your black heater plugs in. You're going to want to unplug that obviously as well. That just pops over there with a little retainer on the side of it. You're going to want to try to get this out. If you can't, like mine is really in there, so I just left that alone. When you take out these bolts, a bunch of water is going to come out and fall on your head, so just have a bucket or something ready under there to catch all that as well. So I will go ahead and show you how to pull this thing apart and change the O-rings that are in it. This one was leaking up front here pretty bad. So yeah. This thing's going to kind of be a pain in the butt to get out, but taking that steering shaft out of the way is going to help you a lot. A lot of guys try pulling the whole oil cooler apart, leave the front half on and pull the back with the tube off. It's just not very easy to do it that way. You're gonna have to fight it a little bit getting it around all this, the exhaust manifold, and then this steering shaft is still somewhat in the way, so just gotta kind of lift up on it and do your best to get it out of there. But it's gonna take a little bit, but this is the easiest way to get it out. Alright, to take this thing apart, you can see this one looks like it's actually probably been replaced, because usually they have a flat stud on here. Anyways, we're going to put the pry bar behind here and just carefully pry that back. And the same up here on the front. Now, since this front does not have these markings here like this one does, we're going to want to scribe on this front half of the cooler housing, just so we can get everything lined back up, because these are aligning these straight. So I will mark this front one, and then we will pop these off. Alright, I got it all apart. When you're prying on these things, be very careful, because this is just cast aluminum. It can break pretty easily, but they should just slide right off. Obviously this truck is here from California. I've had a couple of them that were from Michigan, which is where I live, and these things did not want to come off because of the corrosion and everything. But as long as you don't have too much corrosion on your truck, it's rust and everything, it should be pretty easy to get this off. Anyways, this one is not actually cracked, but it is super hard, so it's obviously not sealing anymore. It was leaking here out of the front, The back was not yet leaking, but that as well is harder than a rock. So these inner ones here are going to be for your oil, and then the ones on the out are sealing the water out. The water runs through here, and then obviously the oil runs through here, and then back out on the other side. So I will get this stuff all cleaned up best I can. I don't have a parts washer, so we'll just clean it up the best we can, and then get the new O-rings and start assembling it. Alright, I got everything pulled apart, cleaned up. You can see how brittle these things are. That was just from trying to pry it off that both of them broke. So now that we got all this taken apart, cleaned up, you're gonna want to get your new gaskets out. There's a part number there, like $8 what I paid for it. They give you 2 more of these smaller ones than you actually need, so I think that this is also fits something else. You're going to want to get some of this assembly grease. You're going to want to lube up these O-rings before you put them on there. Otherwise you're never going to get this case back together. And then mine stayed on the truck. They usually do stay on the truck side. Make sure you go under there, pull your gaskets off. You don't want to double gasket anything. Clean up the mounting surfaces. And then we can go ahead and start putting this together here. Alright, so I got the oil cooler all back in. When you're pushing those ends on, I prefer to do everything by hand. Try not to use a rubber mallet or anything if you can help it. Sometimes you got to, but if you weigh enough, you can usually just push on the tops of them and they'll pop right on. So the way I got it back up in there, and then I put 2 bolts in the back there with the gasket slid behind it, and then I came up to the front and did the top bolt and put the gasket behind there, and then put the other one in and snugged those up, and then got the 3rd bolt back in, and then torqued everything down. So now it's time to fill everything back up with coolant and then oil and put everything back together.